couch. You know you want to in the front. Come over here.
Yes. Thank you, man.
Peter. Han, come on, man. What are you doing standing back there? Come in the front. All right, welcome everyone. Second event of the night. We had Mayor Pete before this. Pete, whose last name I can't pronounce, but he might be president, so who cares? I just want to welcome you all to Manny's. Thank you so much for being here. Manny's is a civic social gathering space in San Francisco. We do events just like this. I want to remind everyone that our restaurant is run by Farming Hope. The kitchen is run by Farming Hope. It's a nonprofit that hires and trains formerly homeless, formerly incarcerated individuals in food skills training. Our bookstore is run by Dog-Eared Books. And this space is offered to the community for social justice, political, civic type events. We do multiple events a day. Tomorrow we have an event on food waste. On Wednesday we have DeRay McKesson. We've got lots of amazing events happening. Also on Thursday we have an event with Henry Seo, who was the COO of the 2008 Barack Obama campaign for president. He won, in case you didn't remember. back before everything. I'm going to introduce Angelique real quick, and I also just want to say how honored I am to have Kimberly Ellis in my small business. I mean, she's such an amazing woman. She walked in tonight from the back entrance, and my heart fluttered a little bit because she's just such a fabulous person. She's so brilliant. She's so incredible. She's going to be our next chair of the Democratic Party. I'm so proud to have her be in that position. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to introduce the inimitable, the incredible Angelique Mahan.
Okay, well I don't want to go on the stage because, you know, I'm tall enough as is, so I'm going to stand right over here. Can everybody hear me? Yes. All right, so first of all, thank God all of you showed up. I'm so thankful and appreciative that you guys came today. I don't really get like overwhelmed and excited and like clutching the plurals over people, but that was my experience when I first saw Kimberly Ellis. She like was speaking at the Wawapa 50th anniversary event, and she came in and literally just blew the doors off. And Kimberly, and my line when I say this, the first thing I did was I walked over and says, "I need to know you. I need to be your friend." Is that not the first thing I said to you? Literally. I was like, I need to be your friend. And she actually let me. So I am honored and privileged you guys did not come here to see me. I do have a little housekeeping. First of all, I want to acknowledge Tina Fennell. Where you at? Tina? From our AD caucus, I just want to acknowledge people in the room tonight. Matt Haney from District 6. I know I saw you. There you go. Thea Selby, who is actually one of our co-hosts tonight, thank you so much. Amy Farrell Weiss, who is always brings, did she bow?
She's out there.
Okay, well she's out there, but she always breaks knowledge every time she's in the room. There's always something new you learn, so I want to acknowledge her. Former Supervisor District 10, DCCC member, and a host of other things for the Black community, Sophie Maxwell. I saw her in there. Thank you very much. And I know I'm missing somebody, but that's what's on my list. I apologize up front. Oh, I do want to acknowledge former co-chair of Alice, Lou Fisher. Yes, Lou. Yeah, I see you. I do want to acknowledge you. And I'm sorry I can't get all. Huh? But Lisa's going to get acknowledged in a second. I got Lisa. So our co-hosts, I do want to do our co-host committee. Lisa Williams was on one of our co-host committees. She was responsible for bringing Bayer Rustin and Black Women Organizing for Political Action. So thank you very much. I don't see former Supervisor District 10, and that is a long name she has now, a Board of Equalization member. Is that what her? Malia Cohen? Oh, she's chair. I'm sorry, chair of the Board of Equalization member, Malia Cohen. Unfortunately, I don't think she's with us right now. But she. Oh, okay. Well, that's wonderful. Her representative is here. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Kevin Barrett, who is not here, but he is the president of the Harvey Milk Club, and Harvey Milk was gracious enough to give their endorsement of this event as well. So now that we've taken care of all that, he's not president of Harvey Milk?
No, he is.
all that housekeeping is done, we want to hear from somebody that's unbought, non-boss, yeah? Okay, but then without further ado, a person that allowed me to be her friend, Kimberly Ellis.
Actually, the way that happened was I asked Angelique if I could be her friend. I want to thank you, Angelique. She actually, not too long after that event, reached out to me and talked about wanting to put something together. So I want to thank you so much for following through with that, for being so gracious as to bringing people together to host this. Where's Manny at? I love you. Thank you not just for opening this space up tonight, but for opening this space up to our community. This is a place for people to commune and come together, and I think more so now than ever before, we need more spaces like this for us as not men, not women, not black, not white, not gay, not straight, but as human beings to come together to talk about issues that affect all of us. And so I want to thank you for creating the space for us as community to come together. I want to thank the host committee and everyone who lent their name and their support for tonight. I want to give a special shout out to Matt Haney, Board of Supervisor. Matt Haney was the first man to serve on the Emerge California Board of Directors when I was executive director there, and he has been a supporter of women for a very long time, and I just want to thank you for your leadership and how you choose to stand in our world at this time. Thank you to all of you who chose to come out on a cold and wet, rainy night to learn more about this. Before I get started, last Friday, we lost a warrior. Someone who is the very definition of a truth seeker and a justice warrior and a freedom fighter. Someone who has been working on behalf of the poor and the underserved and the voiceless for many, many years. And so I want to dedicate tonight's event. This is actually our very first event, our campaign kickoff. Wanted it to be in the community. I want to dedicate tonight's event and all of the support, all of the love, all of the compassion that is gathered in this room tonight to our beloved, recently departed Jeff Adachi. So many of you may remember me from when I ran to be the chair of the California Democratic Party 2 years ago. We ran on a campaign of redefining what it meant to be a Democrat. Because there are many of us who believe that the Democratic Party as an institution and too many of our Democratic elected officials at the highest levels had forgotten what it meant to be a Democrat. Many of us believe that it was time for this party to get back to basics, and that meant getting back to being the party of the people. The party that cared about the poor, that cared about the working class, the party that believed in reaching back and pulling people up. Many of us believe that the reason why no party preference declined to state and independent registration outpaced Democratic registration for the very first time ever in the state of California is because too many people do not believe or trust in the Democratic Party anymore. Part of the reason why is because the party takes money from some of the same bad corporate actors that the other side takes money from. And so the last time around we ran really on a campaign of getting back to our true north. Making sure that we didn't just talk about our values, but that we lived our values in everything that we did. Many of you followed that race closely and know that despite winning about 70% of the elected delegation, because of the party's version of an electoral college or superdelegate system, we ended up missing it by 57 votes. Fast forward to today, 2 years later, the political environment is very different. Because of the recent sexual harassment and sexual assault scandal that has plagued our party, that has created the vacancy for the chair position and for the new election that has been called. As a result of that, once I decided to throw my hat in the ring again, really thought about what we need as a party at this moment in time. So there are 4 priorities that I am going to focus on over the next 2 years as it relates to the California Democratic Party. Number 1, culture change. Our party is in deep need of culture change. What happened with our former chair was not an anomaly. It is a symptom of something that has been going on for a very long time with respect to the toxic culture, not just at the state level, but at the local level as well. And so first and foremost, we need to make sure that all of those people who experienced abuse at the hand of our chair are made whole. That we do everything we can as a party to make them whole. We also need to make sure that we put in place processes and systems to ensure that that kind of abuse never happens again in the name of the Democratic Party. Leadership starts at the top. Changing culture starts with our leadership. It is very, very important that at this moment in time, when we think about who occupies the White House, when we think about the toxic culture that continues to come from that, we need to make sure that as a party, it is very clear, we are very clear about who we are, what we stand for, and what we are about. We must distinguish ourselves from the other side when it comes to that kind of behavior. And so, number 1, first and foremost of the priorities is culture change and bringing about a party that is safe and accessible for everybody. Number 2, we experienced incredible legislative and congressional gains all throughout California. Many of you know Orange County, they're saying down there now is orange is the new blue. Those wins were because there were deep and broad coalitions that came together to make those wins happen. In some cases, the local Democratic Party played a big role in those wins, but in some cases, the party did not. In many cases, it was the Indivisible, Swing Left, Sister District, Brand New Congress, all of these other organizing groups that came together at a local level to stitch together those wins. It is really important that as we look forward to 2020, that we do everything we can to ensure that those coalitions stick together again. And so that means going into those communities, making sure that we are working together so that the wins in 2018 are not one-offs and that we can hold on to those in 2020, lay the groundwork for 2022 and beyond. Yes. Number 3. As you all know, we moved up our presidential primary to Super Tuesday. Yay! Which means that pretty much every presidential campaign and contender will come through the state of California. That means the California Democratic Party must have its house in order.
Yes.
It also means that the chair of the California Democratic Party must ensure a level playing field for every single presidential candidate. It's really important that we are able to heed the lessons from the past. And I think that one thing we can all agree on is that 2016 and then the aftermath was very, very hard and painful for all of us. And so to ensure that we don't have a repeat of situations where people feeling like a thumb was put on the scale, that there was not fairness and equity, that there was not a level playing field for some candidates, we need to have a chair who will ensure and instill faith and trust in the system. We haven't had that in a long time, and that is a promise that I made, that as chair of the California Democratic Party, I will not be endorsing any presidential candidates at all until we have a nominee and we can all come together around that nominee. But as chair, I will be neutral and I will stay completely out of it. And then finally, we all know that we have a very important job to do in November of 2020. That means that we are going to have all of our ducks in a row. California, as many of you know, is the 5th largest economy in the world. Here in the Golden State, we like to say we don't follow trends, we set the trends, right? And so it's incumbent upon us to use all of the muscle and heft and might that we have to do what we need to do in order to play our role in helping to take back the White House in 2020. That means having a strong, healthy, safe Democratic Party. And I am incredibly grateful for another opportunity to travel across the state to talk to delegates, to paint a vision of what this party can and should be for Democrats, not just here in the Golden State, but to set the trend for the rest of the country. We recently launched, for those of you who are not following, I would encourage you to follow our Facebook page. We recently rolled out our entire platform, all of the priorities, all of the plans, and some of the programs that we intend to bring to the party as well. One of the biggest differences between the last campaign and this campaign. The last campaign, one of our mottos was, don't talk about it, be about it. This time around, we've revised it slightly to say, don't talk, show. So one of the things that we talked about on the last campaign was the kinds of programming that we wanted to bring to the party. One of the programs that we wanted to bring was the Democratic Party spends millions and millions of dollars every year on campaigns. A lot of that money goes to TV ads and mail. Well, we believe that we need to start investing that money differently. And so what we said was, instead of spending money on mail and on TV ads, much of that money going back into the pockets of people like Rupert Murdoch, right? So instead of money spent that way, how about we spend it on paid full-time community organizers who are organizing all over the state of California, not being parachuted in a couple months before an election, but 365 days out of the year, it is their job to meet people where they're at the farmers markets, on their doorsteps, in the neighborhoods, doing the work of rolling up our sleeves and being willing to meet people where they're at and connecting with them, not even on party ID, but on a human-to-human level about issues that impact each and every one of us. So we talked about these programs that we wanted to bring to the party last time around. This time around, we're actually going to give you a taste and show it. We are actually running 3 programmatic pieces through the campaign. One of those programmatic pieces, which is very near and dear to my heart, is a 6-week paid internship for Gen Z and millennials. So young folks between the ages of 16 and 35, we are going to give them a $1,000 stipend to come and learn about politics, to come and learn about the party, to come and learn what it means to organize, to come and learn about labor, to come and learn about our values as Democrats. Why? Besides the fact that it's just the right thing to do, besides the fact that we should be building the next generation of political organizers by investing in them, also because the Republicans have been investing in their young people for decades. A lot of what we are seeing today, and a lot of what we have been seeing in the last couple years, is not something that happened overnight. What we are actually seeing are dividends, the payoffs of investments that have been made year after year after year, decade after decade after decade. I don't know how many of you were paying attention to what happened this past weekend, but the California Republican Party had its state party convention this past weekend. They elected for the very first time the first woman and the first Latina. Okay? So if we don't, or if we do think that the Republican Party is dead, we should think twice about that. Okay? Because they do believe in investing for the long game. And so this is an opportunity for us to get in the game of playing the long game, of building our bench, of investing in our young people who will be our next generation of political leaders here in California. So the first program, the 6-week paid internship for our Gen Z and millennials. The second programmatic piece, I talked earlier about the wins of 2018 and the need to ensure that those coalitions stand so that we can hold on to those in 2020. We are going to be awarding $50,000 in grants. It is a Democratic Central Committee grant initiative that will award money to the central committees that were in districts that flipped from red to blue, working in conjunction with those local organizing groups, Indivisible, Swing Left, Sister District, to stitch together wins for 2020. And then the third piece, I was just talking with someone, I think it was, I can't remember, but we were talking about soil regeneration. Yeah. Yes? Thank you. And how that alone can help us reduce our carbon emissions. So the third programmatic piece is we are going to have a conversation series, and we call it Leader of the Pack. Because California is the 5th largest economy in the world, we should be leading not just on some of the issues, but on all of the issues. So we will be convening conversations around, we'll pick 4 issues that we will be convening conversations around all around the state, leaning into that position of leadership, leading us where we need to go. There are a lot of issues that are not future, but are present. AI, the future of work, the environment. There are lots and lots of Green New Deal, lots of things that we need to be talking about right now, and not enough of our elected officials are holding those conversations. So we will be holding those kinds of conversations through this campaign. So those are the 3 programmatic pieces. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Facebook page, do that. If you're not signed up to get our emails, please do that. But we are looking forward to a spirited conversation that really lays out a plan for moving this party to the next level, for creating a Democratic Party of the 21st century. And I'm again grateful to each of you for taking time to come out. A show of hands, how many actual voters in the audience, delegates? How many? Wow, awesome. Thank you. So look forward to having conversations with everybody, but especially to the actual constituents who can vote for me. But I again want to thank you all so much for coming out. I will take an opportunity to field just a couple questions, but really I'd like to get out in the audience with you all and continue the conversation about how we can work together to create a just, a fair, and an equitable future, not just here in the Golden State, but the rest of the country. You know, what they say is true. The rest of the country, and really the world, really does look to California for leadership. And what an incredible opportunity we have in this moment to show exactly what we're made of, exactly what it means to be a Democrat. And again, not just here for California, but for the rest of the country. So with that, thank you all so much.